So behind me here is the starboard engine nacelle of the Brooklands Concorde, and it includes one of the pioneering innovations that enabled this amazing aircraft to travel at more than twice the speed of sound. It is of course very different from the normal huge round turbofans that we're used to seeing on modern jet airliners. But the reason for that is a pretty basic challenge that the Concorde designers had to solve. And that was the fact that even though the aircraft was travelling at twice the speed of sound, the air going into the Olympus turbojets had to be significantly subsonic. The responsibility for solving that problem was allocated to the British Aircraft Corporation, which was one of the 4 British and French companies within the Concorde consortium. In an ironic twist of fate, the solution turned out to rely on the very characteristic of supersonic flight that would prevent the aircraft from achieving commercial success, namely shock waves. These are generated by any object travelling through the air at greater than the speed of sound, and are dependent on the size and shape of the object creating them. The shock waves generated by the Concorde's fuselage and wing were responsible for the sonic boom heard when they reached the ground. Its intensity was such as to lead almost every country to prohibit the aircraft flying over its territory at supersonic speed. This severely restricted the routes that Concorde could fly, and thus its commercial attraction. It was, however, another characteristic of such shock waves that proved so useful to the BAC designers, and that was the fact that airflow passing through the waves was slowed down. They therefore realised that if they could find a way of generating suitable shock waves in the engine intakes, these should be able to slow the supersonic air down to about half the speed of sound, which was what the Olympus engines required. There was, however, the additional challenge of needing to vary the amount of air flowing into the intake to allow for different phases of flight, as well as being able to cope with emergency situations, such as having to shut down an engine during supersonic cruise. The design that was eventually arrived at involved a series of sharp-edged ramps and secondary doors that could be moved by means of hydraulic systems in various ways to provide just the right combinations of shock waves and diverted airflows. Given the speed of the aircraft, it was recognised from the start that operation of such devices would need to be automated and controlled by a computerised system. In the early 1960s, such systems were inevitably based on analogue processors, but these were not deemed to be sufficiently reactive to changing conditions. So BAC decided to use a pioneering digital system developed by its guided missile division. It was yet another world first for the Concorde, and one that enabled its engines to operate efficiently at all speeds and stages of flight.